This is part 2 of how I learned to be happy. Please go back and watch part 1, and if you want to, go to the videos before that from the day before, where I'm laughing like an idiot about the absurdity unfolding on the world stage. So, picking up where I left off, severe mental health diagnosis in 2004. At that moment, I was in absolute rock bottom, like truly the lowest point in my life. I had, at that point, it was my senior year of college, and I had a job offer in LA for graduation, or I was going to go to New York and go to journalism school at NYU. Those were my two options. And instead, what did I do? I dropped out of school and I had to move home with my parents. I lost all my friends, I lost everything, and I was still incredibly depressed, barely functioning. Now, I was in therapy. I was on medication. Sadly, the medication didn't do much but make me worse, but that's another story for another time. But I had a lot of work to do to figure out how I was going to learn to live my life. Now, again, in 2004, the information they had about all this stuff was fairly primitive. We didn't, we didn't have all the access to everything we have now and all the different types of therapies and the insights into all of this. Basically, I was just told, you have a chemical imbalance. You're born with it. It's incurable. You're going to be like this until you die. So just like lay low, try not to get too triggered, and just like deal with it, basically. That's it. Which is not great advice for someone who's already chronically depressed. So I had to learn day by day, minute by minute, how to push back the thoughts, how to learn a new way of responding to the world. I did learn some great techniques in therapy, like starting a gratitude journal. And anytime I had a negative thought, I had to stop myself and replace it with a positive one, which was so fucking hard. But I had to do this for my neuroplasticity. I had to retrain my brain and all the circuitry. But one experience I think really changed me forever, and this is something I learned from my mom. When I was finally well enough to be functioning and get out and get a job again, she gave me a part-time job at her office. She ran a business and I was helping with data processing. Now I was functioning, but I was still deeply depressed. And one day she came into the office with a box with a shipment of her office supplies that had come in. Now she was literally humming and kind of dancing around with the box. So of course this piques my curiosity. I follow her into her office. She sets it down. She opens the box up and she's giddy and she pulls out a handful of box openers. But they weren't just any box openers. They were pastel, rainbow colored box openers. And she very excitedly said to me, "You get your first pick. Which color do you want?" And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I was like, you fucking kidding me? Like, this is what you're excited about? I was like bewildered. And I just said to her, like, really? You are this excited about office supplies? And I can't remember the exact wording, the exact way she responded to me. But the essence of it was, there's always something to be excited about. You get to choose little bursts of happiness every single day. You get to create things to be excited about. You get to color your world any way you want it. And again, I will be quite honest with you in that I did not believe her. I believed that that was possible for her. I did not believe that it was possible for me. But I also didn't give up on the idea. I filed that away and I thought, I wonder, what if I could be that way too? Now, I did not know it at the time, but that absolutely was the moment where everything changed. And now I can look back. It's been almost 20 years to that date, and I can see that I have become that person. Oh, I'm just saying that. I have become that person that knows how to create joy in every moment. Now, not always, not consistently, because it's not realistic to be like, oh, I learned this thing and I'm happy every single day. I've had some stressful times. Y'all, I am a mother. I've had children since then. It's been rough. I have twins. And you guys, I lived through a pandemic and I lost my mind then. But it was this skill of learning to create little moments of joy, little pockets of happiness, to look for it, to seek it out, and to immerse yourself in the joy when it comes. My mom didn't just order these box rippers and say, those are cute, here, have one. She danced. She let me choose. She was happy about it. She was actively, physically happy about it. And especially when times are bleak, when things are uncertain and we don't know what to do, We have to be aggressive in our search for happiness. It doesn't mean we're delusional. It doesn't mean we neglect the reality of what's around us. It means we still have the right and the ability to create pockets of joy. Y'all, I can't control what's going to happen on the world stage. I can't control how this is all going to end up. So me devoting 24 hours a day stressing and fearing about it ain't going to help me at all, because it's not going to prevent what's going to happen from happening. But finding my joy creates a bubble around me where I can live in positivity. And that joy gives me strength and courage to know that whatever does happen, I will be able to handle it. I no longer have to go to that place where I was completely crippled by emotion. Because if the worst happens, say a pandemic erupts and I couldn't change it, I at least had those skills that I rigorously used that year to help me get back on track, to create joy and to create peace until I got my feet again. So when you all see me laughing like a jackass, I'm not being crazy. I'm not being delusional. I'm using that skill, and I'm like I'm like genuinely happy during this time. I truly am. Not only because I have faith that there's a bigger thing that's unfolding here, but because I know how to find joy in the meantime, and life is so good. Like, here's another funny example. So I live in Utah. We have gorgeous mountains, and my favorite thing every day is when the sun is setting in the west, that sunlight comes through and lights up those mountains on the east. It's the most gorgeous golden hour you will ever see. And it's become this running joke with my kids that the first person to look at those mountains and see the gold wash over, we have to say, "Look at them mountains." Look at that. And it's like a thing. Now my kids race me to beat me to it. My cousin, who's my friend and we hang out a lot, she noticed this thing that I do. I didn't even realize I was doing it. But when we go out to this is kind of embarrassing. I'm like a large child. Huh? But when we go out to dinner and my food comes, like, I'm a foodie. I love it. I went to culinary school. Like, I love me a good snack. When we go out to dinner and our food comes, I start doing the happy bum wiggle. You guys, I smell my food. I like get right in there and I'm like, and I get so excited about it. It's so silly, but you guys, this is why my life is so full of joy. I've learned to find my joy aggressively, and it's just my life is so good. Life is so good. And if you're on any kind of spiritual journey, you'll know that it doesn't make us exempt from the heartaches and from the hard times. It just gives us tools to navigate those times when they come. Life here on Earth is not naturally easy. This is an Earth of contrast. This is a planet of light and dark, of shadow, of learning through pain. So any tools we have at our disposal to learn to find joy, to learn to find peace, you got to snap them up, y'all. You got to snap them up, and you have to be aggressive in your search for happiness. And I'm living proof it can be done.